This is the Rode Wireless Pro, and this is the best small wireless system on the market in 2024 for two reasons.
It doesn't have to do with the fact that it records 32-bit internal float audio. It doesn't have to do with the fact that it has 7 hours of battery life on the transmitter. It doesn't even have to do with the fact that it has timecode, which actually is super useful and we'll jump into later. It really has to do with one tiny little physical feature that they made an upgrade on, and some of the accessories that you get with this great little wireless system. But let's jump into what makes this system great and what might make this the right system for you.
In full disclosure, Rode did send this to me about 3 months ago, but no money changed hands. They get no input into this video and they don't get to see it before it's launched. Also, they didn't even tell me I had to make a video. They just sent it to me and said, try it out, and if you like it, let us know. Now, of course, the biggest reason you would buy one of these small wireless systems is to get good audio to your camera, regardless of how close or how far away you are. And this little system is great for it. It does sound really good overall, straight out of the box.
So now you're listening to the Rode Wireless Pro. And one of the main reasons why you want to consider this as a wireless system, if you're looking to grab one in 2024, is the audio quality. Not only do you get pretty good audio quality straight out of the unit, but you can add lapels that come with the system that are actually some of the best I've heard from Rode. They're really clean and really clear. I'll put one on here in just a second. But having good clean audio quality like this, no matter how far away from your camera you are, really makes a big difference.
But to me and to my ears, I actually like the way the lavalier sounds a lot better.
And now you're listening to the lapel. And to me, the lapels actually sound really good. Now they're a little larger than I might like, but because they come with a couple of different options for wind, you can make them sort of as obtrusive or unobtrusive as you want. And they definitely look a lot smaller than putting the whole body pack right here. I put the just regular fuzzy cap on because I don't have a lot of wind out there today, but if I was in heavy winds, the dead cat, the little furry kitten that they give you to go along with this, would work quite well.
To me, the lavalier sounds a little bit clearer and a little bit cleaner, and I just like the fact that you don't see the transmitter up here by somebody, which is, in my opinion, a lot nicer. The lavalier is, or the lav mic is a lot easier to hide, a lot smaller, a lot less conspicuous. And because they included not just the little foam windscreen, but also a little dead cat or a little furry kitten, whatever you want to call it, windscreen, it actually can handle some pretty substantial wind.
What a lovely day to be out here. Of course, one of the biggest selling points when this unit first came on the market was the fact that it had 32-bit float internal recording, which basically means you can record something internally, not on the camera because that's still 24-bit, but you can record something internally and basically not distort the file. So in this case here, I was working with some ice climbers, having to yell at them to get them to do what I needed and stuff like that. But in post, I was able to pull that audio right back down and have a perfectly fine audio file. Or in the case also where I'm like running in and out of helicopters, the audio normally for normal talking would be distorted, but in this case, I'm able to just pull it back. Now, 32-bit is not that big a deal if you know how to set your audio levels properly. But in the case of a lot of solo creators like myself, you may not have time. You might be running and gunning really quickly, and so you just need to capture the audio, make sure you capture it right. Something like this is really going to help you not have to stress.
Now, the downside of that is, of course, that you have to actually pull the files off the units and import them into your editor. But Rode has made this easier with this generation in that there's a single USB port on the back of the case. You plug that in, and both wireless systems pop up like a drive, so you can pull the files directly off. And you can also do your firmware updates this way, which is super convenient because you only need to plug in one USB-C cable and you've basically connected to everything that sits in this little case. One of the main reasons that I do think this is the best wireless system of this type on the market is the fact that for $400 you get an incredible amount of stuff, including both wireless systems, the receiver, you get 2 lavaliers with 2 different types of windscreens depending on how heavy of wind you're going to be out in. You get other little foam windscreens that plug directly into the transmitters, and a plethora of other things in this case, including all the cables that you'd need to charge, to offload, to adjust things. And speaking of cables, the fact that they've now included the cable you need to plug either an Android phone or an iPhone into this, and with the Rode Central app, you can adjust all the settings, set these things up the way you want them to be, really makes it nice if you're on the go. In the past, with the Rode Wireless Go 2, I didn't have that option, and it was really a pain because I ended up way up above the Arctic Circle, and trying to program them or set them up the way I needed them to be set up was really difficult without having an app support, and I didn't have my computer support. One of the things that Rode implemented on this system that nobody else has done yet is timecode support. Now, it's not a full implementation of timecode like you would have if you had other devices, and it highly depends on what type of camera you're using. But if all you're going to use this with is, say, a single Sony Alpha series camera, which is what I did, and then jam timecode to it on one of the audio tracks, you can record for an entire day, come back, and in my case here, I use the Tentacle Sync Studio app that I have because I have Tentacle Syncs to synchronize all of the video and all of the audio for almost 6.5 hours of recording. And I found that except for a couple of places where there might have been a couple of frames off, 2 to 3 frames, everything else was perfectly synced up, and it gave me this fantastic timeline of my entire day, both with the shots I took with the camera, but also of all of the video clips and all of the audio all synchronized up for the entire 6.5 hours that I was recording. And speaking of 6.5 hours, these have a rated battery life of 7 hours, and I have tested that on multiple occasions in extremely cold temperatures, which generally shortens your battery life, where I turn the Wireless Pro on, attach the lapel to it, put it in my pocket, and let it record for the entire 6.5 hours that I was out working, and it recorded the entire 6.5 hours. And the transmitter was on top of the camera out in the cold almost all of that time, which meant it had to withstand sub-zero temperatures for a very long time because it was cold and windy the entire day. I'm happy to report that the battery life was exactly as advertised, even in much less than ideal conditions. It handled the entire day really well, and only at the very end of 6.5 hours did it start to tell me that the batteries were getting low.
Hey, if you're enjoying this video or getting value out of it, then consider subscribing. My focus is helping solo creators like myself make good decisions when it comes to buying new gear, and then also get the most out of it by giving you tips and tutorials on how to use it and maximize it. One of the main reasons to get a small wireless system like this is obviously that you can be away from your camera and still get great solid audio like I am right now. I'm a couple hundred feet away, getting good clean audio. Now, Rode says this will go up to 260 meters, but there's a caveat to that. With every one of these small wireless systems, it massively depends on what sort of environment you're in. Right now, I'm in the wilderness. There is literally no other RF around me, so there's no interference. Means I should be able to go 1,000 feet away, and so long as the transmitters can see each other, then there won't be an issue. But as soon as I put something between the transmitter, which is right in my pocket here because I'm using the lapel, and the camera, then you're gonna lose signal. Now that really doesn't matter because I'm recording internally, and so I can just pull the internal recordings into my editor in post and line it all up with timecode. But it is something that kind of can be fun to try. So you probably lost signal right now because I turned around and walked away. But the reality is these distance tests are really just kind of a pointless test because so long as you have a clear line of sight and no obstructions and no interference, you can go big distance away from these units and still not have any issues. Man, it's cold. Whew. So now I'm about 1,000 feet away. Yeah, I didn't even know. I got the camera set on a 105mm lens, so hopefully you can see me in my bright red jacket. But this is the point that I'm making is when you're in an environment like this where there's no obstructions and there's no other interference, you can go a really, really far distance away and not worry about it. It's when you're in dense, crowded environments where there's a lot of Wi-Fi signals, there's a lot of other RF going on, that's where these systems will struggle. But you have the internal backup recordings, but also if you're in close proximity and you have the transmitter and the receiver have a good clear line of sight with each other, you really shouldn't have an issue because the link on pretty much all of these small wireless units has gotten so good.
Now this might seem like a really simple thing or a really dumb thing, but the fact that you can leave the windjammer protection, the little furry kittens on here, put the transmitters in the charging case, and stow it away like that means you're not gonna lose those as easily. And while a lot of other manufacturers have charging cases, that's pretty much standard now, Rode is the only one that allows you to keep those wind covers on the mics and close up the charging case without having to take them off. Now, I said that there are 2 reasons why I think Rode is the best wireless system on the market in this category, because a lot of manufacturers are putting out a lot of fantastic products. For me, the biggest reason that I think the Rode Wireless Pro is the best wireless system on the market is the fact that they are the only ones who are putting locking connectors onto the transmitters, which means you can put this in a pocket, run around all day, or put this on a Talent and not worry about those transmitters coming disconnected at all ever throughout the entire day. And I've put this through the test, hiking in the wilderness, going in and out of helicopters, working with ice climbers in ice caves, everything. And it just works. Where every other system, you have to be very careful about how you connect a lavalier mic to it. You have to make third-party 3D printed things or gaff tape it together so there's no chance of it coming out. All of which is a much less elegant solution than just simply putting a locking TRS connector on these, which I really appreciate that Rode has done. And again, I think is one of the main reasons that you should consider this if you're looking to buy a wireless system this year. That's not to say that this system is perfect. It's not. There are a few things that I'd love to see Rode improve in the future. One, make the transmitters a little smaller would be great. But I think the biggest improvement could be made with the interface. Right now, to get around the interface on the receiver, you basically have to use a series of button presses or combination button presses, and it's a little hard to remember exactly what buttons and what combinations do what. And I would love to see a deeper implementation of the timecode features on this system where you could actually synchronize this with other timecode devices like Tentacle Sync or some of the other ones out there. And so then you could sync across a wider range of devices and not just whatever the Rode receiver is connected to. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Next, you're going to want to watch this video right here. I'll see you over there. As always, if you have questions, ask me in the comments below or join my live stream, which happens most Wednesday nights at 4 p.m. Alaska time, 8 p.m. Eastern, where we can have a little bit more of a conversation. Maybe I can answer questions I didn't get to in this video. I will see you again soon in the next one. Cheers.